While you were sleeping, football history was rewritten by the one man the entire sport tried to bury. His name is Walid Regragui, Morocco. A coach so unwanted that Europe's elite clubs wouldn't even return his calls. A manager mocked on social media, rejected by teams you've never heard of, told to his face he wasn't good enough for the big stage. And yet, just hours ago, he stood in a World Cup semifinal, the first African coach to ever reach that height. The same man they laughed out of interviews just orchestrated a victory over Portugal. Cristiano Ronaldo eliminated. The so-called experts silenced. The impossible done. This is the moment that broke football's unwritten rules. The moment that exposed everything wrong with how this sport picks its heroes. Because Regragui didn't just win a match, he shattered every assumption about who deserves respect in football. But here's what nobody's telling you about how this actually happened. The rejections, the politics, the secret preparation that turned rejection into the greatest underdog story in World Cup history. Picture this. 2013, Walid Regragui, fresh from a short coaching course, applies for a youth job at Bordeaux. No reply. By 2015, he's at FUS Rabat in Morocco. Not exactly the dream for a man who once played at the highest level in Europe. The press snickered. European clubs like Nantes and Saint-Etienne wouldn't even take the meeting. He doesn't have the pedigree, one executive was caught saying. That year, a French pundit put it bluntly, Regragui is tactically naive, stuck in the past. The laughter followed him across every headline, every failed interview. 2017, after a Copa del Trone win, rumors linked him to Lille. The sporting director's leaked email read, "We want a name, not a gamble." Regragui watched the same doors close again and again. Despite success in Morocco, his unfashionable style made him football's unwanted man among the European elites. Social media only made it worse. Memes of his Sunday league tactics, trending hashtags mocking his interviews. Even in Morocco, some called his appointment embarrassing. Proof the FA was scraping the barrel. The lowest blow, 2022. Morocco sacked their World Cup-bound coach weeks before kickoff. They needed a replacement, someone cheap, someone desperate. All the big names said no. Only Walid, the man everyone rejected, picked up the phone. This wasn't the Federation's first choice. This was pure desperation. But what the critics didn't know was that this rejection was about to fuel the greatest redemption story in World Cup history. Here's the ugly secret about why Walid Regragui kept hearing no. It was never really about tactics or talent. The insiders all knew he was brilliant, but he didn't tick the boxes football's power brokers secretly demand. He was too Moroccan for Europe's old money, too outspoken for Morocco's own FA, and too independent for club owners craving yes-men. The whispers in boardrooms went like this. If he just played the game, if he kept his mouth shut, if he hired a European agent. Regragui refused. He called out corruption during his FUS days. He openly criticized federations that put personal connections above results. He wore his North African identity with pride, while the football factory worshipped the next German or Spanish tactician who could mimic Guardiola's press conferences. Walid didn't want to be someone else's echo. His football was direct, physical, honest, a style the establishment labeled primitive. The result? He was denied not because he was unproven, but because he wasn't marketable. An anonymous exec admitted. He was brilliant in interviews, but he didn't kiss the right rings, didn't smile for the right cameras. There's even talk of a leaked Federation email dismissing him as not PR-friendly. Proof that merit is sometimes just a headline. Sound familiar? Does this happen in your workplace? While mediocre yes-men landed cushy jobs, a true football mind was left in the cold. And still no one was ready for what Walid Regragui would unleash next. Morocco arrived in Qatar as forgotten guests at a party for kings. Their FIFA ranking 22nd in the world hardly scared anyone. Pundits dismissed them as hopeless before a single ball was kicked. They'll be lucky to get a point. A squad patched together with aging exiles and unproven youth hammered by last-minute injuries, still bruised from a chaotic qualifying campaign. There was no superstar, no billion-dollar domestic league, no army of sports scientists. Just Walid Regragui, a coach signed out of desperation, inheriting a fractured locker room and a board already drafting excuses. Compare that to the elite. Spain, Belgium, Portugal, all with budgets that dwarf Morocco's entire football federation squad, stacked with Champions League icons and backup plans on every bench. The betting markets gave Morocco a 1 in 1,000 shot, barely above the teams that had come just to make up the numbers. But beneath the defeatist headlines and doom-laden predictions, a different script was being written. Regragui introduced radical team-building methods. The Federation frowned on private team dinners, family-only, training days, psychological workshops about underdog pride. There was rumor of a tactical playbook unlike anything in North Africa's recent history. And then the World Cup kicked off, and everything changed. December. The quarterfinal. Morocco versus Portugal, the tournament's last African hope against a machine built for glory. Every analyst had predicted a clinic Portugal would dominate possession, suffocate Morocco, exploit their supposed inexperience. Instead, for 90 minutes, football was turned upside down. First half, Morocco defend like warriors, Regragui marshalling the sidelines with the hunger of a man with nothing left to lose. When a Portuguese attack breaks, Hakimi sprints 40 yards to block a shot on the line. The cameras catch Regragui signaling one finger to his temple, shouting for patience, for courage. Every viewer feels the tension building, the disbelief growing. And then, the moment. The 42nd minute. Morocco force a turnover near midfield, breaking up the precise Portuguese passing lanes. With a tactical trap no one saw coming. The ball ends up at En-Nesyri's feet. He leaps higher than any defender, crashing down a header that sends the Moroccan bench erupting. Goal. The world shakes. The stadium for a second stops breathing. Second half. Portugal throw everything forward. Ronaldo enters desperate to save his legacy. Regragui doesn't blink. He makes a shocking double substitution, switching to a back six, inviting the pressure and gambling everything. Morocco's keeper Bonu makes a fingertip save in the 89th minute that becomes legend. And at the final whistle, chaos. Moroccan players collapse in tears. Regragui drops to his knees, overcome. The Portugal players stare in disbelief. Commentators are silent, then screaming. History is remade. Here's what the cameras didn't show. In the locker room, Regragui quietly tells his men, "They saw the impossible tonight. But for us, this was always real." And every analyst left scrambling to explain the tactical masterclass that turned pre-match doubt into total euphoria. The world woke up to headlines they never thought they'd see. Mastermind Regragui stuns Europe. The same pundits who mocked him as unfit for modern football released breathless praise reels overnight. One TV analyst, who had called Morocco an accident waiting to happen, now tweeted, "Always believed their manager was something special." Screenshots of those old takes exploded across social media. Fans weren't letting them forget. Clips of Regragui's jubilation went global, sparking millions of posts. Coaches who once scoffed at his tactical ideas called his semi-final run a blueprint for the modern underdog. Suddenly, clubs that ghosted him were keenly monitoring his next move. But with the praise came instant controversy. Some analysts claimed it was luck, pointing to Portugal's missed chances. Others insisted Morocco's squad always had the potential, as if erasing the months of doubt and dismissals. The debate raged. Was this true validation, or would football's old guard find new excuses to deny him a seat among the elite? Beneath the cheers lingered old prejudices, quietly waiting to reclaim the narrative. But the biggest question is what nobody's asking. What happens now, when the man they all ignored gets a game-changing offer just 48 hours after the final whistle? Do you think they'll finally respect him, or find new excuses? Comment now. Let's be clear, this isn't just Walid Regragui's moment. It's a mirror held up to football's rigged system. How many geniuses are stuck on the sidelines because they're too unfashionable, too foreign, too honest to play the politic game? For every coach like Regragui who breaks through, how many are quietly shown the door because they don't have the right passport, contacts, or a style that sells shirts in London and Madrid? Think about it. If this so-called nobody can drag an unfancied team into the Final Four of the World Cup, what would he do with real support, with the resources handed blindly to failed favorites season after season? How many innovators are suffocating in back rooms, never trusted with the keys? Maybe that's exactly why football's power brokers fear outsiders crashing their closed party. Every unexpected victory exposes their broken meritocracy, their fixation on brands over brains. That's why they rewrite the narrative when the truth gets too loud. And here's the part that should terrify the big clubs. The dam is cracking. The deeper lesson. This is why we love football, because sometimes, against all odds, a little truth can change everything. They tried to bury him. They didn't know he was a seed. Walid Regragui's journey from Europe's rejected outsider to the mastermind behind one of football's greatest shocks isn't just a story. It's a warning to the gatekeepers and a rallying cry to every fan who believes in fairness over name brands. He was mocked, blacklisted, handed a team that couldn't compete, and turned that disrespect into the thunderclap that stunned the world. So here's where you come in. Is Regragui now a top 5 manager, or was this just a one-off miracle? Will football's old boys club ever let someone like him into the inner circle, or will they double down on keeping the next outsider out? And most importantly, does this rewrite how we should judge coaches, from hype or from results under pressure? Drop your take in the comments. I'm reading every single one. And trust me, the debate is just getting started. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button. If you want more truth and less politics in football, subscribe, because this channel brings you what the establishment wants to hide. And if you think this was the craziest World Cup twist, wait until you hear what's coming next, because what he does next could change football forever.